Have you ever noticed how much of your pain comes from wanting things to be different than they are? You're lying in bed, and suddenly it hits you. That relationship that didn't work out. That opportunity you missed. That version of yourself you thought you'd be by now. And the more you chase these thoughts, the deeper the hurt cuts. It's like trying to catch smoke with your hands. The tighter you grip, the more it slips away, leaving nothing but the sting in your eyes and the ache in your chest. We've gotten so used to this constant reaching that we've started to believe that's just how life works. That happiness is always one more achievement away. But what if I told you that the moment you stop chasing is the moment you start healing? Not because you've given up, but because you finally understood what was happening all along. We've been sold this idea that fulfillment comes from acquisition, getting the right job, the right partner, the right life. Every notification, every advertisement, every success story reinforces this message. Chase, pursue, obtain. And when you don't have what you want, chase harder. But here's what no one tells you. Chasing creates a gap between where you are and where you think you need to be. And that gap, that's where suffering lives. That's the space where you tell yourself, I'm not enough yet, or my life isn't complete until. The truth is, most of your pain doesn't come from not having what you want. It comes from the story you tell yourself about what not having it means about you, your worth, your future. And that story keeps you locked in pursuit mode, always reaching, never arriving. Think about the last time you really wanted something, a job, a relationship, recognition. Remember how it consumed you, how every thought circled back to it. That's not focus. That's attachment disguised as ambition. And when the thing you're chasing becomes your emotional oxygen, you hand over the keys to your peace of mind. There's a profound difference between moving towards something with purpose and chasing something with desperation. One comes from wholeness, the other comes from a perceived lack. When you're chasing, you're operating from scarcity, convinced that something is missing and you need to fill that hole to feel complete. But this mindset creates a painful paradox. The more desperately you chase, the more elusive fulfillment becomes. Chasing amplifies the very pain it promises to solve. It keeps your focus on what's missing rather than what's present. It turns natural desires into prerequisites for your happiness. And most importantly, it disconnects you from the part of yourself that already knows you're enough. The mind that's constantly chasing can never be satisfied because it's been programmed to find the gap, not the gift. It will keep moving the goalposts, keep finding new targets, keep convincing you that peace is just one more achievement away. So if chasing creates suffering, what's the alternative? Is it just giving up, settling, becoming passive? No, it's something far more powerful. It's engagement without attachment, presence without pursuit, direction without desperation. Instead of chasing what you think will make you happy, what if you started recognizing what already makes you whole? What if, rather than constantly reaching outside yourself for completion, you remembered that completion is your natural state? This isn't some abstract spiritual concept. It's practical psychology. When you chase, you create resistance. You split yourself between where you are and where you think you should be. But when you engage from presence, you bring your full self to each moment, each action, each goal. The irony is that when you stop chasing happiness, fulfillment, success, you become more likely to experience them. Not because you've lowered your standards, but because you've elevated your awareness. Now I can hear some of you thinking, but don't we need to want things? Don't desires drive growth? Absolutely. Desire itself isn't the problem. The problem is when desire transforms into desperate chasing, when not getting what you want becomes a threat to your sense of self. Here's the paradox. You can move toward what you want while being at peace with what is. You can have goals without making your happiness dependent on reaching them. You can love without grasping, create without straining, achieve without chasing. The difference is subtle but transformative. It's the difference between saying, I need this to be okay, and I'd like this, but I'm already okay. Between, this will complete me, and this will express what's already complete in me. When you operate from that second mindset, the anxiety of pursuit falls away. The desperate edge to your actions softens, and paradoxically, you often become more effective because you're no longer getting in your own way with tension, fear, and attachment. So how do you make this shift from chasing to being? How do you maintain direction without desperation? First, recognize what chasing feels like in your body. There's a tension to it, a constriction, a low-grade anxiety that colors everything. It creates tunnel vision where all you can see is what you want, not what you have. Once you can identify that feeling, you've already begun the shift. Second, practice coming back to your center, that part of you that remains stable regardless of external circumstances. It's always there, beneath the surface noise of wanting and chasing. When you notice yourself chasing, whether it's approval, success, certainty, or anything else, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, Who would I be without this desperate need? What quality am I really seeking beneath this chase? Often, what we're really chasing isn't the thing itself, but what we believe that thing will help us feel. Security, connection, freedom, worth. And these qualities are always available to you, independent of circumstances. Here's something most people never realize. What you're chasing is never what you actually want. The promotion isn't about the title, it's about feeling valued. The relationship isn't about the person, it's about feeling connected. The achievement isn't about the recognition, it's about feeling like you matter. And these deeper needs, to feel valued, connected, significant, they're valid. But chasing external circumstances to fulfill them is like trying to quench thirst by eating salt. It only increases the craving. The revolutionary approach is to go straight to the source, to recognize these deeper needs and meet them directly rather than through the roundabout path of chasing circumstances. Want to feel valued? Start by valuing yourself, not in some superficial way, but by genuinely acknowledging your inherent worth independent of achievement. Want to feel connected? Practice presence with those already in your life instead of fantasizing about some future relationship that will, finally, make you feel less alone. Want to feel like you matter? Start mattering now by bringing your full attention and care to whatever you're doing, whoever you're with. There's a clarity that emerges when you stop chasing, a way of seeing that isn't clouded by want or fear or desperate need. From this space, you can still move toward goals, still create, still engage fully with life. But now you're moving from abundance rather than lack, from expression rather than acquisition. It's like the difference between a river frantically searching for the ocean and a river that simply flows naturally toward it. Both reach the same destination, but one struggles while the other glides. When you stop chasing approval, you start speaking your truth. When you stop chasing security, you discover the courage that's been within you all along. When you stop chasing perfection, you find the beauty in your humanity. When you stop chasing happiness, it often finds you. And here's what's fascinating. The moment you let go of chase mode, you start to see opportunities you were missing before. Because chasing creates tunnel vision. You only see what you've decided you need to see. But presence opens your field of awareness. You notice connections, possibilities, and paths that were invisible when you were fixated on that one thing you thought would save you. If you've been in chase mode for years, maybe even your whole life, this shift won't happen overnight. The chase has momentum. It's familiar territory. But each time you catch yourself in the chase and gently bring yourself back to presence, you're creating a new pathway. You're teaching your nervous system a new way of being, one that doesn't require circumstances to align before you can feel peace. This doesn't mean you become passive or stop caring. Quite the opposite. When you stop chasing, you often find a clearer, more genuine motivation emerging, one that comes from inspiration rather than desperation, from love rather than fear. So what does this look like in daily life? Notice when you're in chase mode. The telltale signs include mental rehearsal of future scenarios, constant checking for reassurance, emotional highs and lows based on progress, a sense that you can't be at peace until you get there, and comparing yourself to others who have what you want. When you catch these patterns, don't judge them, they're natural. But gently bring yourself back to the present with a simple reminder: I am already whole, what I chase is already within me in essence, if not in form. Practice appreciation for what is, not as spiritual bypass or toxic positivity, but as a genuine recognition that life is happening now, not in some future state when everything aligns with your preferences. Ask yourself regularly, if I knew I was enough exactly as I am, what would I do next? This question shifts you from chasing to choosing, from reacting to creating. There's a deeper layer to all this. The chase isn't just about getting things, it's about avoiding vulnerability. When we're constantly focused on the next achievement, we don't have to sit with the discomfort of being exactly where and who we are right now. Chasing keeps us safe from feeling, from being seen in our incompleteness, from facing the uncertainties that are intrinsic to being human. It gives us the illusion of control in an uncontrollable world, but that safety is an illusion, and it comes at a tremendous cost. The cost of your aliveness, your authenticity, your capacity to experience life directly, rather than through the filter of what you're trying to attain or avoid. When you stop chasing, you start facing these vulnerabilities. You allow yourself to be seen, first by yourself, then by others, not as you wish to be, but as you are. And in that nakedness, something remarkable happens. You discover that you're stronger than you thought, more inherently worthy of love and belonging than any achievement could ever make you. The great irony is that what we're all really chasing, a sense of peace, of wholeness, of being enough, isn't something we need to chase at all. It's what remains when we stop running, stop reaching, stop trying to fix or improve or complete ourselves through external circumstances. This doesn't mean you stop growing or striving or creating. It means you do these things from a different foundation. Not from lack, but from fullness. Not from fear, but from love. You stop hurting the moment you stop chasing, because in that moment you return to yourself. Not the self you're trying to become. Not the self you think others want you to be, but your essential self, the one that was whole from the beginning. This self doesn't need to chase because it knows that what matters most is not what you acquire but what you express. Not what you achieve but what you become in the process. Not how far you go, but how fully you live each step of the journey. So the next time you feel that familiar pain of wanting something you don't have, remember, you don't need to chase fulfillment. You need to recognize where fulfillment actually comes from, not from adding more, but from removing the barriers to what's already there. The moment you stop chasing happiness as something to be attained, you make space for it to arise naturally. The moment you stop chasing love as something to be earned, you discover how deeply lovable you already are. The moment you stop chasing a better version of yourself, you begin to appreciate the version that's here now, with all its beautiful complexity and imperfection. That's the paradox and the promise. What you've been chasing has been within you all along, waiting not to be captured but to be recognized, not to be achieved but to be allowed. If this resonated with you, let me know in the comments below. And share this with someone who's been chasing for too long and needs to remember they can rest in who they already are. Remember, the chase ends when presence begins.